Hey guys, welcome back to Mantalk.ke. Always good to have you back every single week on the pod, on YouTube, on our socials. Thanks for always interacting. We love it. As you can see, we're in Kofisi, and this week it's a different one. We're in Karen, so this is your hood, this is your area. There's one right opposite Waterfront. It's got the same aesthetic, the same services, the same incredible coffee that is fueling us today. We'll get into that later. But Kofisi, thank you so much for always being here for our seasons. And if you need a co-working space or an office for you and your company, then pull up to Kofisi. The link is in our description on the pod and on YouTube too. Boom.
Yeah, he started very strongly.
There we go.
Perhaps it's the coffee.
Let me tell you what it is, Oscar. I said that it's rest. I've been allowed to sleep this weekend, and we're shooting on a Monday. So that's
I can tell. Tell you're just like you're in full smoke today.
Always, buddy.
You're
Always.
so ready.
I got 8.5 hours. So,
Hey,
so
anyway,
feeling good.
today's episode is a Q&A. Standard, we usually have a very toxic, sweet, beautiful Q&A coming in from dealing with the questions that our incredible fans send us. And so shout out to everyone for sending us your questions. We did receive them and we're going to go through them now. This is never prepared. It's straight off the hip. None of us know who's going to ask what.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this episode super saucy.
Exactly.
And that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, Eli, are you ready with the first question?
I'm always ready. Always ready.
Please.
So what we actually did is we realized there were so many questions from last season. So we're like, let's finish them before we put out another question box. So these are some of you guys that asked last season. So we thought, let's bring it into this one and hopefully we finish them and then we can jump in next season with the ones from this season.
Okay,
Yeah?
fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
So Oscar, comment. First, are you good, by the way? How are you this week?
I've had a very interesting week.
That's my first question.
I have had a very interesting week. My energy levels we're
Goodness
fighting.
me. Wow.
We are fighting to be on set, but we will deliver a hard, strong episode. I had a very eventful weekend, like you addressed.
Yes.
I did not.
Oh, interesting.
I did not know.
Yes.
I decided to enjoy myself.
Yet still you glow, my friend. Yet still you glow. Before we actually hold on. Before you get into this, we're going to get to the Q&A. But there's been an aggressive crime committed against my co-host, which I'd like to address on camera. This man was minding his own business. I believe he was shopping, getting groceries for his mother. He was, on a trail. Let me go deliver the goods, and he went.
Yeah.
Just an innocent man in his vehicle with a H. Vehicle.
I don't know what happened because I don't
yes.
want to pretend. I don't want to assume things, but like
Uh-huh.
I've been having like the worst luck when driving.
This man.
The worst luck.
Yeah.
So can't even believe I'm saying this on
Aggressive crime.
camera.
An aggressive crime.
So I'm driving, then I just hear a thwack from nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I look at my windscreen and like it's cracked.
Yeah.
And then like me, the Buddha guys who are close to me, the car that was in front of me, the lady on the left side of the road who was walking, were all like wondering what exactly is going on here. And then we saw like a stone like at my bonnet, meaning somebody actually threw a stone.
Yeah. There was an attempt on your life.
There was an attempt on my life. Yes.
Yeah. What you're doing is the Lord's work, Just
I don't think it has anything to do with bad talk. It's probably some of the kids on that road who are playing. But then
conversations are too honest.
too elevating. Yeah, but like mad. So I've had to deal with that during the weekend. And also I decided to try and pick up golf. And please note the word try.
Tried, yes.
Wow. I mean that it looks easy, but trust me, man, it's not.
So, because this is you're going to see one of these episodes where golf is involved. Little spoiler alert if this is not before. And one fun thing you're going to see is me saying right now that I'm very confident that I'm going to be excellent at the sport. However, I've never played it.
It's gonna be.
So when you watch the episode, you'll know if that actually happened.
Yeah, let me tell you something,
we'll
Eli. My God,
I want to insert
that
this in
game.
the episode.
That game isn't easy.
Yeah.
I tried it this weekend and I was like, because I shot. So we were practicing at the jockey club at the race course at Ngong race course. So I called in some relatives who are like seasoned and they were telling me, okay, this is how you hold the club. My God, the 5 iron, 7 iron, sand wedge, pitching.
Yes.
So, all these different types of clubs, and I was just there like.
Yeah.
The caddy was telling me like, keep your eyes on the ball. So it's my job to look at the ball and not control my swing, what a half swing is, a quarter swing is. My Jesus. By the time I was done, my whole body was tired. Till now, yesterday I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I just slept through the day and I still feel that fatigue. So I'm like, it's not as easy as you'd think. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm quite a seasoned player. Have you heard of the Nintendo Wii? Great device. And on the Nintendo Wii, you can actually play virtual golf. I got some really crazy high scores, so I'm taking that talent. We're taking those talents into.
I have a feeling it's gonna be a rude shock for you.
I know.
You're gonna know why Tiger Woods practiced since he was 8. It's gonna be it's going to be a daunting experience.
It's gonna be a good
But
episode.
I wish you the best, sir.
No, thank you, sir. Yes.
I do wish you the best.
It's gonna be a good episode. I'm very excited for you guys to watch it. So,
jumping in.
that's how we are.
Yeah.
Let's jump in, buddy. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. This is going to be just what the people want. This is what they want. Somebody has asked. What is the largest age gap you would have in a relationship, Mr. Common?
I play between greater than and less than. Shout out to one of the producers. Greater than and less than 5.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a formula. So as you move,
that's my range. Greater than less than 5. So like, I think beyond 5 years for me. The over 5 years, I feel like we kind of lose touch and context to certain conversations. But then no, okay, depends on the person again.
There we go.
Ooh. One of the things this podcast has taught me, and this is why Eli probably has asked this question, is that like
get my snorkel, we're diving in.
I knew this was a trap. The moment you asked it, you knew I'd go somewhere. And I'm like, this devil. And one of the things this podcast has kind of shown me is you might think someone is way older or way younger, but then when you have conversations with them, you find that their life experience and their perspective is as rich as someone who's probably lived to their 40s. And like having like high value conversations on this podcast, or valuable conversations of this podcast, to avoid the word high value, has absolutely like revolutionized kind of my thinking around dating and relationships. So I'm still coming to grips with that. So before, I used to be uncomfortable with going into conversations of a certain tenor with people who are over 5 years and younger than 5 years. But of late, because I've kind of seen a lot of Gen Z kind of awareness, self-awareness coming from social media content, and as well as the challenge of just being human in today's modern age, I'm seeing a lot of perspective from younger people. And I'm also seeing myself relate a lot more with people who are outside of that range that I've just said. So it's a very interesting thing. And I don't want to block my blessings. So hey man, I'm an open book, so whatever works for me. Yeah. But like don't be my auntie.
But let's not get crazy. Yeah.
Let's not get crazy. Yeah.
Optics, come on.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it is. I was going to give a similar answer to you. I think it's definitely based on upbringing, environment, and experience. Yeah. Because basically, I echo what you're saying. Like I've had interactions that have shocked me when I do find out their age.
Yeah.
Conversations that have then shocked me.
Interactions for sure.
Conversations which have then shocked me afterwards. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh, really?
But I had a conversation once with some girls that were my age, so like touching 30, and they were saying they can't date anyone less than 40 years old. And they were all agreeing in the car. They're like, yeah, 40 is minimum. Which is strange. So I think for ladies it's very different. So I think as guys, when you're like early 20s, then the gap is quite small. When you start getting like further down your 20s, you find that you can still match the girls in their early 20s.
Yeah.
I think because they mature faster than us, 100%.
I'm going to ask the next follow-up question that's from the question box also. So what are your thoughts about dating outside your class?
I don't recommend, but it's case by case. I don't recommend it. I feel like it's the same way like
it's actually the same question. Yeah. Great. Shout out to you. Whoever sent that question.
Yes. I think one of the great things with when you find someone in a relationship is like the familiarity, right? That you can kind of the beauty of like referencing things that you both know, having I think sometimes similar experiences is actually a good thing. Unless you're both very easy to and susceptible to like evolve. But I feel like if you want things to go easier, it's like with race, right? Obviously dating outside your race is completely fine, it's perfect. But you find people date within their race because there's much more familiarity, right? So I feel like it's the same way with like upbringing, class, etc. there's going to be exceptions case by case, but you don't want to add, because a relationship already is a lot to take on, to involve someone in your life and then merge families. I'm assuming, when you say relationship, I'm assuming like marriage, merging families. There's going to be too many technicalities if there's so much of a vast difference. Like, I personally don't advocate for it.
Do you think it's there's a difference between men and women in that situation? Because I feel like for women, if they date outside the social class, I don't think the impact is that high, as long as they have certain principles and virtues. But for men, I think, like, as a guy, the problem, I wish I could sit here on this podcast and honestly say that men don't suffer a certain pressure from dating, even without dating, just from succeeding in life and from trying to kind of live the life that they want to envision. I think most men go through that pressure because the pressure to kind of provide and protect has always traditionally fallen on men. And I feel like as an African man, that's kind of what I've seen. So I feel like for a man, ultimately you're the one who upwards social and economic mobility rests on your shoulders as a man. You can't marry up or marry out of a social situation. But like, I feel like for women, it's much, I don't know.
I think the general formula is, and this is just like maths at the moment, I feel like women generally do date up. Like, that's just fact, like you said, and may dating down. So I feel like you said for them to change class, it would also be to do with going up, which is what they'll do even if it was in the same class. Right?
Yeah.
You'd always date someone that's doing something, and I think that's as they should. Like, I think it's more attractive when a guy is got his stuff together, and it's going to be more attractive if a guy is already from an environment that for you is aspirational. That's going to be attractive.
Exactly.
It's a guy versus girl sort of dynamic. So
yeah,
that's why I think
it's
I agree
it's a
with you.
particular
with the women changing class. I think
I don't think it really, because I don't think like for women dating outside of the economic class has as many hazards. That's what I'm trying to say. In the sense that for us as men, because me, I can tell you as a young man, here's the problem: like, lifestyle inflation is real among young men and among society, not just young men, in society today. Lifestyle inflation is a reality, and a lot of it has been caused, especially in urban areas. A lot of it has been caused by a lot of like social media content that's pushing a luxurious lifestyle that in many ways, if you look at, let's say, the African economic system or the economic system, most economic systems across the world are very unrealistic. So you as a guy, if you start to date someone who's not of a particular class or who is not empathetic towards your financial reality, you can date outside your class, but just make sure that that person doesn't make you unable to invest in yourself during the course of your growth as a young man. I always feel like that's the hazard for me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. But then again, okay, so now let's fast forward. Say we're 55 years old and we've got a daughter, right?
Okay.
Would you prefer, let's presume and predict that we've been very successful.
Yeah.
56, like, we've made it, with close to retirement, good business, etc., etc. Then we have a daughter who's now been born into a certain lifestyle. Let's call it affluent, right? My daughter, she travels a lot, she's gone abroad, etc., etc., etc. Then she comes, she's in the house. Would you rather she brings through the door somebody that is a son of your friend from the golf club, so that he's had a similar life, but he's kind of like, I'll inherit it. Like, he's not got that kind of work ethic because he's been born into it. Or would you rather your daughter brings through the door somebody that's definitely not there yet, but like, he's got something that he's building and he's got a very good trajectory, but it's going to take a lot of like tough work, and you might have to help him? Which one would you prefer?
Because that's me now. Because that's myself today. And I think that's now the place where I've seen a lot of online conversations go left. Because most people will go, don't date potential. Potential doesn't really, don't date potential. Okay. So you'll date the finished product. But also understand that for us as men, we work gradually. For us to succeed, especially someone's done the work for you in your generation for you to be able to live the life that you live today. For men, it's the most, not just men and women, it's the most direct relationship. If you're seeing someone live a certain lifestyle, it means that either their dad or their dad's dad or their dad's dad
someone did the work.
did the work. So like, if this person, if I'm in a position where I kind of understand what to do, I'd mentor that young man. Because if he knows the hardships of not having much, of having to build a business on your own, of having to, do the work that your generation has asked of you so that your next of, your bloodline can, live better in the future. Then me, I'm for that. I'm for like the mentorship. But then also at the same time, I think, Eli, there's also the third option that most men think that because a guy comes from a good background, or not men, society has also pushed the narrative of the evil privileged boy. You get what I mean? Not everyone who comes from privilege is a bad person.
Yeah, I was using it for the sake of contrast.
Yeah, I know. But you see, that's a reality that there are good guys out there who have really, really good backgrounds and are really, really focused and have been given a lot of principles and values by family, and they'll take care of someone in your life. But for me, the human beings are so unpredictable. You might find that person who has all of those virtues, when they walk into your life, might actually be a bigger harm than good. And people are at different stages of development. So it's never like a straight line.
Yeah, if I could, I'd pick C, by the way.
Yeah.
I'd pick C 100%.
Everyone would
I'd pick
C.
C because it's like, okay.
Yeah, everyone would
I know
pick
your
C.
dad.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I know your dad. Yeah, I'd definitely pick C. Cool. That was just a debate I thought I'd
really nice. Really nice. But then at the same time, guys, but I have to say this. Before you start dating as a guy, get your stuff together. Just to close it off. Like, don't think, oh, she didn't like me because of my economic class. No. This world doesn't care about excuses. And trust me, as a guy, ultimately, the ball rests with you. No one is going to marry you so that you can get out of your situation. That doesn't happen for men. So.
Oh, sorry. You mentioned something about potential and the whole dating potential thing online. I was going to jump in, but I wanted you to finish your point. I think that narrative of like don't take potential is actually bad, because I think if there's one thing you can't take away from somebody is their potential. And the fact that it's looked at like a bad thing when someone's at the beginning of their journey, it's so inverted. It should be literally the other way around. Because say somebody's got that privilege they've inherited, etc., etc. If it goes away and they've never had that sort of grind, it's going to be much tougher for them. And the person that started from nothing had that potential from the jump and had to like maximize on that. Those two people, their trajectory, whatever happens to this guy, he's still going to go up. If this guy loses whatever he has and goes down, it's going to be very hard for him to now sort of get his stuff together and start again from scratch if he entered at this level.
Exactly.
So I think data potential is actually a good thing, personally.
Yeah. For me, I always say you can't measure a man's ambition. You can't. And it's... Okay, let me put it this way. So I was talking to my younger sister the other day, and my older one as well. I was talking to my sisters. And I was telling them, there are two things men usually look at in any human being, and it's a very, very good indicator of how successful that person. Actually, three. How successful that person will be. Three things that I think, if you look at someone and you just measure them, and and they have those three qualities, it doesn't matter what everything else they have, it might actually work out in their life. The first one is persistence. If you notice that someone isn't necessarily the brightest or the most gifted, but they can persistently like commit to something. Someone goes to law school, does 4 years, falters, does the other 2, gets to 7, finishes. You see, he already, even if it's how difficult, if you're supposed to do it in 5 years, does it in 6, 7, 8. If he's gone through that and he knows how to stay in difficulty because he believes in himself or in an idea, that's someone I look at. If you're in med school, school fees is an issue, figures a way out of it, is persistent in his dream of being a doctor, becomes a doctor. That's something I always watch. Because sometimes you can be intelligent, you can be gifted, but you don't have that grit. You don't have that capacity to, that stick-to-itiveness, to hold on to an idea or a dream to the point of seeing it come into reality. So that's my first one, persistence. I think it trumps talent and intelligence every day. The second one is open-mindedness. Because someone who's open-minded is someone who can actually sit down and like talk to anyone and get money from multiple revenue streams. He goes up and down the income calendar, the income pyramid. He can talk to the guy who's at the bottom of the pyramid earning 0 to 20 to 10,000, and he can talk to the guy at the top who's earning over a million shillings. That ability to be able to relate on all levels with these people means that you're able to be both the lion and the bacteria in every business or opportunity. You're the lion, you're the apex at the top, and at the bottom you can relate and build a business for people at the bottom. There is no one wealthier than that. You go across all races, all careers, all sexual orientations, all religious creeds. if you're able to close business with people like that, you have that relatability. I always say that's a huge indicator that person is going to be very, very successful. Then the third one is character, because it means that this person understands that their word is their bond. You get what I mean? That they understand that there's value in everything that they do. You know, if they have integrity, so they're able to maintain those relationships and they're able to persist through those relationships and create value. Those three things, whenever I see those three things in someone, whether it's a man or a woman, I always know this person, this person is going places.
The beautiful thing about what you said is the persistence. You require persistence if you have character, because you're going to get there so much longer if you have character and integrity, because it's not always rewarded immediately like anyone else outside of that. So that's actually they very much link.
Yeah.
Like you need to have the persistence if you're going to do things like linear the right way.
Exactly.
So I agree, completely agree.
So if a guy has that, even going back to the previous question, those are the things I look at. Like even when someone saying I like your sister, I like your you know, your cousin, your relative, I just measure those three things. If I see he has them, like, she's okay. But then if I see he's not as persistent, but these things can be natural. No one is perfect. Yeah.
Facts.
Okay, my question.
Next question.
What is your greatest insecurity as a man, and how do you overcome it?
Let me think about it. Wait, let me think about it. I don't want to just
That's a
jump
hot
in.
one.
I'm not just going to talk for the sake of talking. Wait there. I want to think.
Ladies and
It's
gentlemen,
changed.
we're about to dive in. Right.
It's changed. It's changed as I've grown up. Because my priorities have changed, and then that means what I care about and what makes me insecure has changed. I'll start from maybe like formative years. Formative years, my biggest insecurity was probably being different. Like I was always conscious of the fact that I was different. I've talked about my upbringing so many times. Being black, number one. Being a relatively short guy compared to my other peers, number two. And always, if I'm ever in a group or we're walking in a mall, you see a group, but you're always like, oh, the group and then the black guy. Like that was a big thing for me, always being seen. But as I kind of got older, I was like, no, this is a good thing. Like, this is outstanding. Like I can stand out from the crowd in every aspect. So I now doubled down on that. I've talked about this so many times, I won't repeat myself. But I doubled down on it, used it as leverage, put it into my social standings, used sport, etc. To be like, if I'm going to stand out, I'll stand out for the right reasons and I'll get respect from that. That was number one. Number two, like now when I'm like early sort of 20s, I think my biggest insecurity then was how intelligent I was compared to my peers. Because I was like, okay, we're coming to the end of our education. How much do I actually know about like life? Because you know, when no one really knows when you're 22, you just finished school, and then the real world is on that side. You're like, do I have the intelligence to actually deal with real world stuff? So that now translated into me being like, I need to find out about tax. I need to find out about business. I need to find out about mortgages, this, like just stuff you're not taught sort of in school. Because I was like, I don't want to get left behind in the real world scenario. There was that, and that kind of also coupled with the fact that, okay, now I'm quote unquote having to have the idea of being a man. And then my insecurity was like, okay, am I ready for another person in my life? Because at that point I was in my first relationship. So it was all of that kind of real world next step of my life. That was a massive pressure that turned into like an insecurity. Like, am I enough? And then I'd say the most recent insecurity, I talked about this in one of the first episodes this season. I didn't realize there was insecurity until it was highlighted. Weakness is in general. Like, I had a very bad relationship with weakness, and I didn't know it was insecurity till when I was mapping out anything that's gone wrong in my life. There was a lot of and I know we did an episode on like self-love, but there's a lot of like high I'd say like I put myself on a very high level across the board, like in my life. And when I fall short of that, I can't attribute that falling short to me. Like I can't think that is because of me. Like I messed up because I have the capability to do the wrong thing in that scenario. So after conversations, I've realized one of my biggest insecurities now is like I have a very bad relationship with weakness and failure. So I need to work on that so that when that stuff happens, I can be like, okay, this is a bad thing that's happened. It's because of you. and it's okay that it's because of you. I talked about this in episode 1.
Yeah.
So right now, that's my biggest insecurity, is definitely that weakness. Yeah.
That's strong.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah.
We did talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to.
This is very live. Like, this is literally happening right now in my life.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
In my life. Yeah.
I don't think
How
we
about
need
you?
to.
What's your biggest?
You don't need to emphasize the point there. Yeah, I think your relationship with failure is different, but like I think it's hard for everyone, buddy. You're not alone there. But yeah, I think we have survived failure after failure, Mr. Mona.
Oh yes. So okay, let me differentiate. By the way, let me differentiate failure. So here's the thing. And I actually had the conversation with my therapist. This exact thing.
Yeah.
Because the failure you just referenced was like business, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with failure in business because I love
it.
That's the thing. And whenever it happens, I love the game.
Yeah, you
I
do.
love it.
That's your sentence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the game. I love the game.
I love
right?
the game.
So
We're not giving up here.
It's not giving up because if I see failure in that respect, and I had this conversation. If I see failure, like
It's a
I was
lesson.
pitched for something. Perfect example. I won't say the brand. This happened not for us, for myself as a man, not Mantalk. Perfect example. I get a phone call from a brand. Oh, Eli, we want you to do this campaign. This is where it's going to be distributed. One of them is billboards. One of them's on digital platforms, and then there's going to be an ad running like on YouTube ads, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, sure, cool. Here's the quote, whatever. And then when you have that, very, very well now, the back and forth. Can you do this? Yeah. Can you substitute this? And I make a beautiful package. This is discounted, and the maths is mathing. Like, this makes sense. And then I'm like, cool, okay. Here you go. Then when like the time period's a bit long, so you're like, guys, what's going on? They're like, oh yeah, we're still just figuring it out. Because I'm like, okay, I love chasing up. So again, I'll call again like in a few weeks. By the way, guys, like, can we? Because I'm traveling, I need to know if we're shooting this thing that's going out. I'll tell you the brand out. I don't think I've told you the brand. So then
I'm not hearing this for the first time.
Yeah. So then they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna get back to you. Then I'm at a restaurant like this. I'm at the restaurant and I look outside the window and I see the billboard. I see the billboard I was meant to be on. And it's not the fact, like, it's not that I wanted to be on a billboard. It's the fact you've literally not, like, I've followed up so much and someone else has been chosen apart from me. For me, that's a failure. Like, for some reason, like, someone's been chosen, that's not me. And I've not been given good reasons. So this is where the failure bit comes in. So I see it and I'm like, that's annoying. So while I'm there looking at the billboard, I call them, hey, so I see the campaign's gone ahead. They go, oh yeah, we chose someone else. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I always say to a client, like, can you give me feedback as to why? Was it my pricing? Was it this? Was it the package? And they're like, no, they just liked someone else. I'm like, okay, but like, was it, like, what was it? Was it the money? They're like, no, the money was fine. I just preferred the other guy.
I see how triggering this could be with you, knowing the history. I see how triggering this
Yeah,
would
and
be.
I'm like, okay.
Because you process failure as rejection.
Yeah, exactly. I process that like that. So when something like that happens, I'm like, okay, say less. It's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's cool.
There'll be a debt.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I take that very well because that actually, I can work from negative energy. Like when it comes to business, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. Where my issue with failure is bad and where it can, like, I've spiraled once probably in my adult life is when it challenges my morality. Or when it challenges my ethics, or when it challenges like who I think I am as Eli outside of work, like Eli as an individual.
Yeah.
And when I disappoint myself, that's the worst type of failure that really gets to me. Like I think I would do this in this situation, and I do this. I'm like, how on earth? So I'm very hard on myself with that. But business stuff, I take it as okay, cool, fine. Because especially in this industry of content, like you're rejected multiple times. You can think you are the business, but you're told very quickly you're not. And that happens. I get rejected on social media stuff maybe 4 or 5 times a month, standard. Yeah, like 60% rejection, 40%.
So for you, it's your battle with morality
and me as like Eli, like what I think I stand for. When I mess up there,
when your image of who you are is dented,
and not to any image to me, like not anyone else, like my image of myself. So
I see that.
Okay.
Hey, deep.
Yeah,
you're deep.
Yeah.
That was deep.
Yeah. I told you the snorkels are out, baby.
That was deep. So how are you remedying it? So how you?
So number one is she said, well, this is what I'm trying to practice. When it happens, it's like accept that it's happened, and it was you. It was not like don't look for fault anywhere else. It was you, and you're capable of that, and that's not a bad thing. Like you're a human being. Like you're capable of messing up once. I said this in the first episode. Same scenario, messing up again. You go with the same scenario, you still mess up, and that's okay. And that's everyone has that capability. Yeah. So it's just being like, it's just absorbing it and not running from it and being like, no, there's no way, and spiraling. How? What? Where did I mess up? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still processing that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, so my biggest insecurities, I think I'll go through. So when I was much young, I told you I went through a kind of a very successful academic phase of my life, and I've always kind of wanted to prove that I'm capable of getting to those heights. And some of my professors growing up were trying to like give me slides. Oh, Oscar, I can't believe this is the same student who was like, nah. So like it really got to me when I was younger. Like I'd always try and prove that I'm that guy.
Yeah.
So I've always tried to kind of differentiate myself in that way to kind of recreate that academic success. This is the problem with when you're academically successful very early in life, or you're very good at something very early in life. You might stay in life chasing that same glory, chasing that same high. And that's what I did. Like for majority of my life, if you look at what I've kind of tried to achieve, is I've tried to create this exemplary career and exemplary academic life, and I have fallen short more than I've succeeded. So kind of how I dealt with that kind of, because for me, falling short over such an absolute goal was really like failure ultimately. So how I processed that is I kind of reduced myself and kind of took myself out of certain conversations where I could be in. Like I stopped pursuing excellence as hard as I used to. And I allowed myself to kind of fall into, I hate to say the mediocre average kind of thing, but you know, for people who know me, it doesn't feel mediocre or average for them.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? It's like, yo, you're still doing really well. But then for me in my head, I'm like, yo, bro, like yo, in my according to my own standards, I've fallen really, really short. And like I'm always pursuing that standard. Even if you see kind of with Mantalk and how I want to kind of use what we've built for kind of my own selfish reasons. Even when I say I have some selfish reasons, it's like I want to use this to be able to get back to that place, you remember?
100%, yeah.
And like at some point, I think it was like this year, I've just started like developing such a deep appreciation for who I am now. Like you get what I mean? Like man, and it's like this happened that day for the dinner for getting sworn in. I'm not going to cry on camera, but like
that was
yeah, like when I joined the bar, man, like damn it, it's happening again. When I joined the bar, man, like for me it was such a big validation. Like it was worth it because like I always say, like in the Bible, my favorite verse in the Bible, not to go religious on guys here, because we support all religions on this podcast, but like in the Bible there's a place where Paul was shipwrecked on an island after he was just arrested, and when he was shipwrecked, you could imagine they were swimming in the cold beach, and then they're like trying to get to shore, and they're all like freezing, so the temperatures are really low. They got marooned somewhere towards Sicily, and so they're really, really cold. So they sit down because they were headed towards Rome, so it's somewhere between the journey. So it really, really, really cold, and they sit down, and so they put a fireplace together, and the prisoners are sitting around that fireplace, and they put on the fire, trying to warm themselves from the freezing cold of the ocean. And from nowhere, a snake jumps out, and out of all of the prisoners, this guy Paul is the one who gets bitten by the snake, and then everyone says, "What bad luck!" Da, 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 da. But he survives that bite, and then like ends up to spread the gospel in that island. And before he goes on to his journey, when he goes on to Rome for judgment, like that's like being marooned on that island was a blessing for that island, because that island knew Christ. You know, that story, like for me, is very much like the story of like Mantalk, because where I was in my life was like career, finish law school, do the masters, then do the masters, then continue with your successful career towards that Ivy League university you've always dreamt of going. But I always felt like the Mantalk kind of journey was like the side quest towards the main quest. And now I'm starting to see Side Talk as the main quest. No, it wasn't just something for you to do as you wait for your real path to open up. This thing was meant to really open your eyes as to your potential, as to who you really are. So I've developed a real deep sense of self-love now. And that's not something I had previously. And that's like, and my biggest insecurity, I guess now, is like living up to my own expectations again, because now I'm back in that I'm back in that main quest. Hey, you've just gotten sworn in, you have this business now, you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, excellent. Now you have that business, okay, what is the main quest? And I'm like, nah, B, there's no main quest. I am the main quest. And that's what I battle every day. It's that thing for, no, this is something I'm taking very seriously. This is something that's brought a lot of joy to people who are watching us. This is something that I have to give respect and time. I have this amazing friend, brother and co-host. Like, how do we make that grow? I have little Beryl in the background. How do we challenge her and challenge the team that we work with to kind of continue to push the needle and push the envelope? So that's been kind of my biggest, I wouldn't say my biggest fight is that now. And being thankful for all of it. Thanking God and my family and everyone around me for all of it. And to communicate that I'm thankful and to communicate that gratitude enough.
That's so beautiful, man. I think that's incredible. And I think one of the amazing things is sometimes it takes that valley, like that being at a peak and then actually going through that early in life. Because some people, they peak later and then they quote unquote fail by society standards later when there's so many dependents and other things in their life that would now suffer. But the fact that yours happened mad early, and then from that you've actually like risen to a higher level and sort of caught up with that trajectory that you found. I think now, even when you're going forward into the next like sort of stage, whatever happens, you're not going to base the value of what's happening around you on the things that you're doing. If it's education, if it's the podcast, if it's financially. So I think it's good that it happened mad early.
Exactly.
There's no, it can't get worse.
It can't. And when you kind of at the mountaintop, then you crash. And then now you pick yourself up again and like you find yourself like back there in that place even higher. Like, of course, the biggest fear you're going to have is maybe I can lose it all again. I have to constantly check my character, ask myself, okay, what lessons have I learned? Am I treating the people around me well enough? Am I thinking enough about myself and my own mental health? Am I thinking, all these little concerns that, someone who has not had a great rise and fall wouldn't think about. You get what I mean? Like, hey, that one I fight with it daily. Like, okay, Oscar, do you think you're ready for a relationship? I'm like, let's put a pin on that.
Season 13 we'll keep checking.
Wait. Let's chill. All right, next question is yours, buddy.
Have you heard that parable? I don't know if you've actually spoken about it before. The guy who like has the horse and then breaks his leg, and then the Chinese guy.
No, tell me. Say the parable.
The parable. I'll probably misquote it. But it goes like this. It was like a small town we'll call it China or India. Right? Is it the one?
It's India.
Yeah. And then so there's a young guy who's really talented at horse riding, and is it the one, right? He's like super talented, because I heard it said the other day, and I was like, I think we said this on our live.
Yeah.
So he's really talented at horse riding. And he's horse riding one day, and then there's like a competition, and they're like, oh, you're going to be amazing, you're going to win the competition. And then he breaks his leg, doesn't get to go to the competition. Everyone's like, oh, that's so unfortunate. So unfortunate, that's so sad.
Yeah.
And then the wise man in the village is like, we'll see. And then a few months later, there's like war breaks out. And then
because he has a broken leg.
Exactly. He has a broken leg, so he can't go. And everyone says, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky that you don't have to go to war.
We'll see.
And he's like, oh, we'll see. The old guy's like, we'll wait and see. And then, what's the next bit of it? What's the next bit?
Yeah.
After the war.
Yeah, he stays home.
He stays home. And then like, what is it? After the war, the end of the parable.
Yeah, after the war, he stays home. But then a famine strikes. And then they get raided. But he can't run because he has a broken leg.
Yeah, I think, and then everyone's like, "Oh, that's so unfortunate."
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. Then he says, we'll see. But because he can't run, the land starts flourishing, and again it's abundant. By the time he's back, his legs have healed, and a whole field of horses come and see him, and now he ends up.
Yeah, then everyone's like, "Oh, you're so lucky." Yeah, and then even the guy says, "We'll wait and see."
We'll wait and see.
And then
the story.
Yeah, the story. Yeah, that was the one.
So,
that's how it feels like with that story.
It's very. We'll see. Mantalk is such a fantastic story. You're going to do your masters. Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But hey, good.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is like when someone's. I think it's my dad that tells me like, be humble in like victory and also when you're
in defeat,
man. So, little fun one.
Okay.
Little fun one here.
Okay.
Question, I don't know what it is. After like a few more, just do quick fire so we actually get through them. What keeps let me actually read exactly how it's written. Mark what is written, as you always say at book club.
Mark what is written. Shout out to Escape Book Club.
Shout out to Escape Book Club. What is the one thing that keeps your brotherhood strong apart from Mantalk?
Furaha. Nikupati na marafiki. Yeah, I think life, man. Just life.
Tell the people, buddy. What keeps his brotherhood strong outside of Mantalk, man? Tell us.
Oh my God. That is a lot, man. There's something me and Eli we call a bossa nova moment. Where me and Eli are constantly in situations of either great success.
Yeah. Trepidation.
Or trepidation. Total failure.
Yes. The latter is more frequent than the first.
Where like some of us have to change face, you know, wear a different face, fight through situations, and just like the best example I can say is just being in the trenches together. Yeah. I feel like this thing called life, bro. Like the fact that we're able to do it together. Everything. Trust me, and everyone knows. If you know, I know that I know everything. He knows everything. Yeah. Everything.
Yeah.
Too much. When you go out, we know. I can't see you, G. Where are you? Don't worry, buddy.
Just say a code word.
Just say the code word, and I don't. Leave him alone.
It's mutually assured destruction.
The shares. By the time you're watching this video, we'll probably be in London.
This is correct.
Yes. Creating memories.
Yes.
Of
more.
Great fear.
Yes.
Or great success.
Yes.
During Freshers Week.
Oh, it's been a journey, hasn't it? Jesus.
Future Oscar, if you're watching this.
Yeah.
Know that you were thought about in this moment.
Yes.
Because again, it's something when you and your homie fail together.
Yeah.
And succeed together. It's a whole other relationship.
Oh, it's outstanding.
It is. It's outstanding. Yeah, look at his face.
Yeah. and just because of the nature of the program, the nature of what we're trying to do, it's made us have to go deep. Like, it's made us have to have conversations that are tough. Like, it's made us have to go to that place. Yeah. I think sometimes friendships and relationships, you don't get that chance. It's very surface level, superficial. I was talking to one of our mutual friends the other day, and she was like, I feel like our group sometimes, we've had those deep moments earlier, but it's been a while since we had deep connecting kind of moments. And that comes from, number one, I always advocate traveling. It doesn't have to be expensive, or just going somewhere on a Friday and then staying till Saturday. Like, having that 24 hours with someone, having that weekend with someone, experiencing a new area, a new place. I think it's incredible for any relationship, romantic or just platonic or just buddies or groups.
I remember a word used to describe kind of our friend group and me and you was wholesome.
Yeah. Very true.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. During some very beautiful circumstances.
Oh, it's the best.
The best. Along the coastline.
Yes.
In a place called Watamu.
Yes.
My goodness.
Glorious.
Shout out to Cliff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I and everyone else involved. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think as well, like what's happened with us is like we've also attracted similar people.
Yeah.
That have that emotional intelligence, that development, that life experience to, when we go somewhere, there's no egos. And that's rare. For like men to go somewhere, there's no egos.
Yeah, no one's doing too much.
And everyone, if they wanted to,
could go crazy.
Everyone could go mad with it, but like there's zero. Crazy. There's that appreciation. And I heard Kevin Hart talking on an interview, I think with Jay-Z, and they were saying like real people that have got like real success, they're not challenged by anyone else's success
at all.
So they can coexist and they can genuinely appreciate and chip in and help, even if it's at their detriment. Because they don't mind, because you succeeding right now is not going to take away from what I'm doing. Even if we're doing the same thing. He was giving an example of him and The Rock. He has a tequila, The Rock has a tequila. But he's like, I will hold up The Rock's tequila and leave mine on the table and say, you should buy this. Because regardless of what happens to mine, I want to see my friends succeed. And I think when you have that kind of mindset, even with our friendship group, you're all going to elevate and no one's going to get left behind if we have that similar mindset. So if Cliff has an event with Pocket Gym, we're all going to turn up. Even if you're going to lose, like you've got a bag you have to chase here, but let me pull up for the boy. Even if for an hour, right? If Georgie has an event like a product that you're going to go, you're going to show up, like even if it's painful.
Even the book club thing. Even if you've not read the book.
Even if you've not read the book, like you'll show up in cause hell. Regardless, if your teammate has an event or has something going on, you'll always show up. Or Kaz, or Victor. So exactly. So having that kind of, and the other day we had an event. One of our boys had an event, and then I remember Victor actually called me, and I was in bed. You know those ones where you're just, you're settled. You have your crisps, eat healthy, but you have your crisps, you have your peanut butter, your sandwich. It's just and then I was like, bro, I don't know if I can. He goes, if you had something they'll pull up for you. And I was like, say less.
Yeah.
Put the phone down, boom, boom. So I think, that's what's, to answer the question, that's what's helped our friendship. Having this relationship and having a group around us as well with very similar values and goals.
And also think like our relationship has educated other people on how to have a relationship.
100%.
Because like when they kind of meet me and Eli and how we relate, everyone wants to have that.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah,
they kind of I get that.
Yeah, it creates a kind of energy. So I love you boys, man.
Yeah, love the crew.
Yeah.
Love the boys.
Yeah.
So love all the time.
You can't just say you can't just I saw this on the other podcast.
Yeah.
Where it's like we can't just say, I love you. It has to be like, love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
Boy.
Love you, G. Yeah, that's how it has to go.
You have to balance it out.
Come on.
You have to balance it out. We'll
honest and elevating, but not too honest.
Come on now. Episode 1, we're just young guys. We're not there yet. We're not there.
So here's another question, because we can now take it to some deep, kind of a deep place.
Deep, yeah? Okay. I thought either.
Yeah, we've been deep.
Yeah.
But what are the 5 things or habits you wish you knew or practiced in your 20s?
Saving money. Let me just go off the bat. I'm still working on that.
Imagine that's not a habit I'm even...
Serious?
Yeah.
I was frivolous, man. Like, yeah. But the thing is, it wasn't for good reasons. It wasn't to impress people. Like, the spending money wasn't because I wanted to.
Okay, yeah, even me, I did that.
Yeah, it was like, I want to make sure they see I'm driving this car. I want to make sure that when we go somewhere, I'll pay for this one, or I'll pay for this, like that kind of thing. Not cool, because that money could have benefited me way more, because it was very temporary. Should we go back to back? I do one, you do one.
Go ahead.
Okay, so that's my money, and then you go.
Habit of productivity.
There we go. Yeah.
I think work ethic is underrated. It's understated. As much as a lot of people say it, to actually have a routine that's inculcated. Like, I wake up, jog. After I jog, I shower. After I shower, I go to work. I work between this time and this time.
Yeah.
And then between this time and this time, I take meetings. Between this time and this time, I do this. I feel like having that structure and that stability in your routine is something that I wish I cultivated. Because this whole time, we were taught in schools, a bell rings, you do this. A bell rings, you do that. Like, I feel like being self-motivated and driven enough to have my own routine is something I really wish I worked on. I'm still working on since I'm in my 20s. Shout out.
Yeah.
But like, that's the next phase of development for me. Because now you can imagine new city, new group of people, new school, still have to make the podcast work. How much easier would it be if I kind of had that habit of productivity where I'm going, between this time and this time I'll be doing this, between this time and this time I'll be doing that. So that's something I wish I kind of emphasized on. And if you're in your 20s, I think you should really focus on having a routine that works.
Yeah.
And sticking to it.
100%, because
Another one?
The next one. So this is not me trying to sound arrogant, but I'm really smart, right? I'm really smart. And I took that for granted, especially in my late education. I did my dissertation in 11 days. That's not okay.
That's crazy.
If I did not try. I'll be honest with
yourself,
you. Like, I don't understand. Like, I can't even express how much I didn't try. Like, it's really bad. And I look and I'm like, I still got decent grades. I was like, if I even put an iota of effort into my...
See, he's using words like iota. To further his narrative.
But like, genuinely, and even my family, they get shocked. They're like, dude, like, how did you even do this in that time? Because they saw me, like, just at the dining table, then go to bed, relaxed. Relaxed. They're like, dude, you have 3 days left. It's like, it's fine. That kind of, it's fine. If I had applied myself, I would have had, it's twofold. Number one, I would have just felt good that I got what I could have got. Like, I put everything in. There's nothing like leaving somewhere and knowing you left a lot on the table. If I put all my effort in, I would have felt good for myself. However, I would never have wanted to even pursue that educational path. But it was just for my own self, because I can never get those years back that I was at uni. And even because straight after uni, I went like on holiday and I was trying to reward myself, but I knew I wasn't tired. Like, I knew that there was so much more I could have done. So that kind of was also made me make sure that everything I do after uni, I don't leave things on the table. I don't leave anything on the table. I'd rather be exhausted but proud of myself than being like, I'll do it in a certain amount of time. So that's one regret, like not leaving everything on the table when it came to academics. But I think what happened, for context, I mentioned I moved counties, right? So when I moved counties, I moved midway through year 11, which is the last year before my GCSEs. And I had to, and this is why I got arrogant in uni, because I had 6 months was it 6 months? Basically half a year. I came in the middle of the year and I had to now redo everything that people had done from the start of the year. So I managed to catch up and then exceed them before exams. So I was like, if I can do that, when I get to uni, I'm fine. And I still got really good grades, got into grammar school, etc. So I think now when I went to uni, I applied that same thing of secondary school, but now uni is a very different ballgame where it actually informs the rest of your life, right? So that's one thing, taking my education more seriously.
I think that's a very strong point.
Yeah.
I think that's a very strong point.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to add or reduce anything this man has said. Like, every iota what you've said is
leave
actually
it all on the table. Leave
exactly.
On the table.
I feel like, though, don't be too hard on yourself, because the stories you share here are largely due to that life experience you have. So that's dope.
Yeah.
My side, I think, final one, I think.
Yeah, let's do 3 for 3.
I really, really wish that I treated people the way they're supposed to be treated.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. There's times, there's the quote. I was looking for it in my head. Thank you for giving me that file.
I'm sorry,
bro. Sorry, Beryl just gave us a nasty look.
That's expensive.
So, don't treat permanent relationships like temporary ones. And don't treat temporary relationships like permanent ones.
Come on.
Because you see, the worst thing about this life is that it'll show you that temporary relationships should not be overvalued, and you will be punished for it. Trust me. And people who are meant to be permanent in your life, your family, people who are loyal to you and have kind of a lot of value to you, need to be invested in. You need to invest in those friendships.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And if you find yourself investing a lot into someone and they kind of don't care enough to invest back, that's a very good indicator that the relationships you have are temporary, and you should treat it as such.
Go off.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, just like be wise enough at your young age to invest in your family relationships, in your friendships that have stood the test of time, and kind of create beautiful memories with those people, because we're only here for a certain amount of time before things really change. Yeah, because now that I'm approaching the end of my 20s, man, I'm just seeing my friends. The people who they are marrying are not the ones you thought they would. It's not the one you thought, buddy.
Yeah.
It's not the one you thought. So just focus on you, focus on your development, and focus on growing relationships that serve you.
Dude, like, you've literally said exactly what my final one was. I was only going to take it the angle of literally just family. Like, my one regret is there was like 3 years of my life where I didn't regard my family. Like, I was so arrogant. I ran away from home. I was like, I didn't care. And I was like, I'm going to start a whole life by myself, etc. Very, very stupid. I was like, I had anger issues, basically. And seeing the pain that I put them through, even if afterwards you reconcile everything, you still...
Yeah, you carry that debt.
You can forgive and forget, be Christian, everything, but like, you still remember the hurt you've done to that person. So yeah, 100%, especially family. Like, friends are cool. Friends.
May protect that relationship. I just, even if I'm angry at someone, you won't know. I'll just be like, I'll deal with you at some point in life, but not today.
Yeah, my thing is family, man. Just valuing my family. I wish I did more.
Yeah,
but it's good because now it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
It's because of that. It's because of that.
Shout out to Eli's family.
Shout out to
my family, everyone.
Them
babus.
Recently found out we're closer than we thought.
Yeah, recently.
Very recently.
Yeah, in a funeral. You might be your cousin. Huh?
Yeah. Guy.
Yeah.
The hills of Mary.
2 chiefs were born in that side.
Where the soil is red.
And the sun is hot.
Oh, God.
Last one?
Yes.
Go for it.
Oh, there we go. And I think this is very, very apt, man.
No, go for it.
Where do you draw the line between being self-aware and being arrogant? So I'm going to change self-aware to being confident versus arrogance. So I don't think you can compare self-awareness and arrogance.
I was talking to my cousin once, and we were thinking about it. In my life, humility has been a vice.
Really?
It's not a virtue at some point. Because look at us, Eli. What audacity must we have? As mid-20, because we did it in our mid-20s, to sit down and say, let's start a podcast about men's issues and like social issues. As whom? With what authority do you speak? And you remember I told you, like, we must come off in some instances as the most arrogant people on the planet. But at the same time, if you have something of value to give the world, try. Just do it. And arrogance is a point where it becomes harmful to yourself and others.
Yeah.
That's why I check my ego.
That's a sentence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Arrogance is when it becomes harmful to yourself and others.
Yeah,
that's
facts,
that's where I check it. That's why I check my ego.
Mm.
But when you find, because I feel like sometimes you need a little bit of ego to kind of push
100%.
through the nonsense that we are put through as young Africans in a harsh economic climate with political systems that barely serve us. Like, we need to be arrogant. Yeah. Like, not arrogant, but confident, I think. But you need a little bit of ego to kind of survive and push a vision and an agenda in the circumstances in which we find ourselves. So like that's how I see it, man. Like when it gets to a point where I'm seeing we are able to do 11 seasons, shout out to God and everyone. Shout out to God, because shout out to God and everyone, because you and I both know.
I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Shout out to God and everyone, because you and I both know. Yeah. Because you and I both know.
It's just that everyone.
Everyone who's watching this, like, we need every single person. Eli, we need every view we can get.
No, it's the God thing. God and everyone. Oh, I don't know why I found it so funny.
Because you know. Because you're in the trenches with me, you know just how much confidence, how much do we get away with?
Oh, too much.
Going to a cooking show, not knowing how to cook.
Dropping soon. Actually, this week. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Going to a cooking show, not knowing how to cook.
Yeah.
Doing collaborations across the board.
Yeah.
Getting, like, fighting for a podcast of the year award in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Where our metrics, we don't even know what's going on over there.
I swear.
Going to South Africa with nothing.
Yeah.
Like, surviving off of the goodwill of people. Dude, like,
it's good bone structure and vocabulary at this point.
How are we not, we're a danger to ourselves and others.
Menace to society. Goodness me.
Put that on a t-shirt. Menace to society. Mantalk is a menace to society.
Basically NWA.
Yeah. Like, so that's why I draw the line.
Facts.
So like, confidence sometimes, a little bit of ego will take you a long way, but just don't stretch the limits of your work. Yeah,
that's facts. Because you've taken it. My breath is back. Sorry, bro. I just blew in the mic. Because you've taken it very, like, holistically, I'm going to give a little story, to sort of as an antidote.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I love a good story.
Today you're in the mood.
Yeah, come on now.
Dad vibes.
Come on now. Dad vibes. Yeah, my son.
Hey.
Yeah, there was a time.
When that boy from option A in the other question. Sit down. I was with you.
Yes. I think I don't know if I told this on this platform or on Over 25s about my journey with ego. As I mentioned, one of my insecurities was being different, and I used that as a positive. It did get to a point where it tipped over and it started to be a negative with my ego. So 18, 19 years old, finished my GCSEs, now doing A-levels. I went to one school, the grammar school, didn't like it, came back. But in that transition, I went back to my old school. So I came back like a returning king, like, yo, you guys back type thing. That was really bad because I'd built social capital, hated it where I went, came back. So then in that, I came back with one of my buddies. No, I did talk about this on my journey thing. Long story, if I've talked about it before, then I'll just do long story short. Basically, between 18 and 20, when I was doing my A-levels, etc., I was like the guy, and I really thrived in all my environments. If it was social, if it was educational, and that kind of affirmations, like, oh, you're the dude, was really toxic because I had no regard for anyone that didn't give me value, and I was like floating. I was like a young kid with too much social capital, basically, put it that way. And it's when you can just start going out. That's when the family stuff messed up, right? So from that, I realized that when I went to uni, that all of the social capital doesn't matter, because after Freshers Week, I went into Freshers Week, big ego, trying to still be the guy, but you have so many other people from different environments, and they're like, this is bigger than like school. You're like no one here, right? So we went in with that kind of arrogance that we're going to be the guys. After a while, it got exhausting, and then my ego got really checked because it wasn't from anyone being overt. It was just less people turning up when I invite them. You hear someone say something about you, like, what? But I thought I was the guy. That's when I realized that all like social capital, ego, popularity is like, it's all fodder. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just air. It's fake, because it's a perception. Exactly. It's a perception. in someone's mind, and that's very fickle because it can change. So now, even sort of coming to Kenya and then sort of gaining a bit of popularity here, just in our podcast and our small when we interact with people, I never have an ego now because I know it's all like it can all go like that, and the perception can change from positive to negative. So that's my journey with ego has been like now, even if someone is talking about what you're doing and bigs you up, like I will never, unless I need to get money, go into a room or have a conversation about what I do from an arrogant point of view. It'll be from like a grateful point of view, be like, oh yeah, we're just trying, we're doing this thing, thank you. Because I never want to seem like we have this podcast, we have this social media platform, because that for me is not sustainable. So I always come from a place of like humility, and I'll let somebody else compliment or somebody else say what I'm doing is good rather than me saying it, because I'd much prefer it that way. So that's been my journey with like ego. The only time I'll ever have to use it is if we're talking about metrics, numbers, impact, because we're trying to get a bag. That's the only time I ever now will like put your chest forward and say no, because you have to stand up for yourself in like meetings. That's the only time. But that's been my journey with ego and anything I'm doing, and just interacting with people when they're talking about like what you do and who you are within your sort of society and your group. So that's my journey.
If you hear me talk about the podcast to you, it means you're very close to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like,
yeah,
because I have a very tight-knit group of friends. So the topic of the podcast comes up all the time because we're obsessing about this thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So like, it's become a part of who I am. So sometimes, now this is the problem. When I talk about it, some people call it arrogance. Because they're like, but you're always talking about Mantalk and what you guys are doing. But for me, it's like, it's because I'm sharing a life experience with you, because it's my life experience right now. Like Mantalk has been kind of revolutionary in how I've lived my life. And I tell you all the time, like for me, my life has really changed. Not just from a place of like finances or social capital, or it's a place of like understanding human beings. Like these days, the questions I ask, even me, I shock myself when I ask the questions when I'm sitting down with my friends. And there's a level of depth that this podcast has given me that allows me to kind of navigate socially that wasn't there before. And I do measure who I can talk about the podcast with. I always go, thank you, and then I just leave it at that. But I think the vision we have for what we are trying to achieve doesn't come from a place of arrogance. It comes from a place of we want to try and change the narrative around men, essentially black men around the world, because y'all are tripping.
100%. Yeah, man, that's facts. That's facts.
There is.
I feel like that's time. We've probably done like an hour. I think it's been a good Q&A, man. I swear these are my favorite episodes. They're always my favorite, because I never know, because you can have a topic like this one is just
it's like sit down and produce the gems.
Exactly, like literally off the hip. So I hope there's been some sort of value, some sort of fun at the same time. Shout out to God and everyone.
Shout out to God and everyone. Because skin of our teeth.
Come on now, every day. And also thank you, Kofisi. Lovely to be back. So we hope you enjoyed this podcast half as much
as we enjoyed making it,
because we had a ball.
There we go.
See you next week, guys. Peace.